The HR manager closed her office door with 2 fingers, like even the click might contaminate my new badge. On her desk sat my employee health packet, my signed offer letter, and a yellow legal pad with 1 sentence written across the top, possible child abandonment concern. Then she turned her computer speaker toward me and played my mother's voice saying, "My daughter left 3 minors unattended so she could report to your hospital this morning. My name is Natalie Mercer. I'm 33 years old." What HR didn't know yet was that those children had been placed in my apartment while I was in the shower, and my family had created a paper trail before I even put on my scrubs. I had waited 9 years for that badge. Not dramatically, not romantically, practically. I had worked night reception at an urgent care, taken prerequisites online, borrowed textbooks, passed boards on my second attempt, and accepted the first hospital position that would let me into an ICU residency track. Monday was orientation at Calder Ridge Medical Center. Not a full shift yet, but the kind of administrative first day that decides whether you belong. Payroll forms, badge photo, employee health clearance, compliance training, medication safety modules. I had laid everything out the night before. Navy scrubs, white sneakers, immunization records, driver's license, voided check for direct deposit, a folder labeled Natalie Mercer, HR. At 5:08 that morning, I heard the soft thud of my apartment door closing. At first, I thought it was the upstairs neighbor. Then I walked into my living room with wet hair and found my sister's 3 kids asleep under 1 blanket on my couch. Milo was 6, Audrey was 4, Ben was 19 months. Their backpacks were stacked by the coffee table. A diaper bag sat beside them. On top of it was a folded note in my sister Kelsey's handwriting. "Had to go in early. Mom said you'd cover. Back after lunch." I stared at it so long the ink blurred. My phone was on the kitchen counter. There were 7 missed calls. 4 from my mother, Linda Mercer. 2 from Kelsey. 1 from my father, Paul. Then the text came through from my mother. "Your career can wait. Her kids can't." I called Kelsey first. Straight to voicemail. I called my mother. She answered like she had been waiting with a script. "Natalie, don't start." "Mom, there are 3 children in my apartment. They're your niece and nephews. I have hospital orientation in less than 2 hours. And Kelsey has a custody mediation today," she snapped. "If she misses it, Derek can use it against her." That was the first time I heard the word custody that morning. Kelsey had been separated from her husband, Derek Brandt, for 6 months. I knew they were fighting. I knew my parents had taken her side with the kind of blind loyalty that turns adults into accessories, but nobody had told me there was a court date. Nobody had asked me to babysit. Nobody had even checked if I was home. "I can't do this," I said. "I'm calling someone." "You call anyone," my mother said, lower now, "and you'll make your sister look unstable in court." That sentence landed differently, not emotional, administrative, court, custody, stability. I looked at the 3 sleeping children, at my new hire folder, at the note on the diaper bag, and for the first time that morning, I understood this wasn't just family pressure. This was positioning. I called Derek next because his number was still in my contacts from last Thanksgiving. He answered on the second ring. "Are the kids with you?" he asked immediately. My stomach dropped. "You didn't know?" I got a text from Kelsey at 5:01 saying the kids were with an approved caregiver for the day. "Approved by who?" Silence. Then he said, "Natalie, I need you to listen carefully." My attorney asked for caregiver disclosures last week. I picked up the folded note again, and only then saw the second page underneath it. It was a printed form. At the top, temporary child care affidavit. My name was typed into the caregiver line. My address was typed under it. And at the bottom, above the words, signature of caregiver, someone had written my name in blue ink, not printed, signed. A loose, confident copy of my signature. I had never seen that document in my life. My hands went cold, in a way coffee couldn't fix. Derek told me to photograph everything. The kids asleep. The backpacks, the note, the affidavit. He said, "Do not destroy that form. Do not write on it. Do not give it back to Kelsey." Then he said the sentence that changed the whole morning. If that was filed with the mediator, it's evidence. I was still standing there in wet hair when my mother called again. I let it go to voicemail. Then another text came in. "Don't embarrass this family over one job. One job." She said it like I hadn't built my entire adult life around getting into that hospital. I called my neighbor, Mrs. Lillian Pratt, a retired elementary school secretary who had known me since I moved in. She came over in 10 minutes wearing slippers and a cardigan, took one look at the children and said, "Who signed your name?" Not, "What happened?" Not, "Poor Kelsey." "Who signed your name?" I nearly cried from the relief of one adult asking the correct question. Mrs. Pratt agreed to sit with the kids while I called Derek back and then the non-emergency police line. I didn't say abandonment. I didn't accuse anyone of a crime. I said 3 minors had been left in my apartment without consent, and I had found a document bearing what appeared to be my forged signature. The dispatcher gave me an incident number. I wrote it on the back of an envelope with a shaking hand. Then I put my hair in a bun, drove to Calder Ridge, and arrived 11 minutes early. For 40 minutes, everything looked normal. A woman from Employee Health checked my TB test. A payroll coordinator handed me tax forms. Someone joked that the badge photos always looked like mugshots. Then a man in a gray suit walked into the conference room and called my name. "Natalie Mercer, HR needs to speak with you privately." My first thought was that my license hadn't cleared. My second was that Kelsey had crashed her car. But when I sat across from Marjorie Vance, the HR director, I saw my mother's name written on that yellow legal pad. Marjorie folded her hands. "We received a voicemail at 6:23 this morning from someone identifying herself as Linda Mercer, your mother, and emergency contact." "She is not my emergency contact," I said. Marjorie's face changed slightly. She clicked play. My mother's voice filled the room, calm and wounded. "I'm calling because I believe Natalie may present a judgment concern. She left 3 small children alone this morning after agreeing in writing to supervise them. I know this is her first day, but as a hospital, I'm sure you understand safety." The recording ended. No one spoke. Then Marjorie slid a printed call log across the desk. Next to my mother's number was a note typed by someone in HR intake. "Caller alleges employee abandoned minors to attend orientation." My new badge was still clipped to my scrub top. For the first time, it felt less like permission to enter and more like evidence I was about to lose everything before I even started. Marjorie Vance didn't look angry. That was worse. Angry people can be corrected. Calm HR directors collect facts, build timelines, and decide whether your name belongs in a risk file. "Ms. Mercer," she said, "before we proceed, I want to be clear. This is not disciplinary. You have not been accused by the hospital of anything. Yet." The word sat between us. I placed my folder on her desk and forced my voice not to shake. "I need to tell you exactly what happened." She nodded once. "Please do." So I did. I told her about waking up to my sister's children on my couch, about the note, about my mother's texts, about the affidavit with my typed address and forged signature, about calling the children's father, about contacting the non-emergency line and receiving an incident number, about my neighbor staying with the kids so I could report to orientation. Marjorie's pen moved steadily. The man in the gray suit, whose badge read Daniel Cho, Employee Relations, interrupted only once. "You left the children with a neighbor?" "With a retired school secretary I trust," I said, "and I notified their father. He was arranging pickup. Did you have legal authority to transfer care?" "I didn't have legal authority to receive them," I said. Daniel stopped writing. Marjorie looked at him, then back at me. "Do you have the documents with you?" I opened my phone and showed them the photos, the note, the kids asleep under the blanket, the diaper bag, the affidavit, my forged signature. Then I showed them my mother's text. "Your career can wait. Her kids can't." Marjorie read it without expression, but her jaw tightened. "May we make copies of these?" "Yes." My phone buzzed while Daniel was emailing himself screenshots from my account. It was Kelsey. For one irrational second, I thought she might apologize. Instead, her text said, "Why did Derek just show up with a cop?" My lungs locked. Another message followed. You ruined everything. Then my mother, you had one job as an aunt. I turned the phone around so HR could see the screen. Marjorie exhaled through her nose. Ms. Mercer, I strongly recommend you do not respond while you're in this meeting. I wasn't planning to. That was only half true. My thumbs were burning. A knock came at the door. A receptionist leaned in. Marjorie, there's another call. Same woman. She says it's urgent and concerns patient safety. Marjorie's eyes sharpened. I'll take it here. She put the call on speaker and hit record after giving the required notice. My mother came through breathless, theatrical. Is this human resources? I need to speak to someone in charge of nurse hiring. This is Marjorie Vance, HR Director. You're on a recorded line. How may I help you? I already left a message. My daughter Natalie Mercer is supposed to start today, but she abandoned 3 children. I don't think someone with that judgment should be near vulnerable patients. Marjorie looked at me. I stared at the carpet. Mrs. Mercer? Marjorie said evenly. Are you the legal guardian of those children? No, but I'm their grandmother. Were you physically present when they were left at Miss Mercer's apartment? A pause. Well, no, but I knew the arrangement. What arrangement? The arrangement that Natalie would keep them. Did Miss Mercer agree to that arrangement with you? She knew her sister needed help. That wasn't my question. Silence. Then my mother's voice cooled. My daughter has always been selfish. If she's telling you otherwise, she's manipulating the situation. Marjorie didn't blink. Do you have documentation that Ms. Mercer agreed to supervise the children today? Yes. There's an affidavit. My head snapped up. Daniel stopped typing. Marjorie leaned closer to the phone. An affidavit signed by Ms. Mercer? Yes. When did you witness her sign it? Another pause. I didn't personally witness it. Who did? Kelsey handled the paperwork. Thank you. We will not be discussing an employee's status with you. Please do not contact Calder Ridge Medical Center again regarding this matter unless you are responding to a direct legal request. My mother sputtered. I am trying to protect people. Goodbye, Mrs. Mercer. Marjorie ended the call. For 3 seconds, nobody moved. Then Daniel said quietly, "That was helpful." A laugh came out of me, small and ugly. "I'm sorry." "Don't be," Marjorie said. "People often reveal more when they think they're in control." She slid a tissue box toward me. I hadn't realized my eyes were wet. "Here is where we are," she continued. "Your start remains active. You will complete orientation today. However, because a third party has attempted to interfere with your employment using allegations involving child safety, we will document this internally." My shoulders dropped so hard they hurt, but then she added, "You should also change your emergency contact immediately." She wasn't supposed to be listed. Our application imported the contact from your background check packet. It lists Linda Mercer as secondary. I remembered. 3 months ago, when I'd filled out the packet, I had put my mother down because the form required 2 contacts and I was tired. Tired can be expensive. I'll change it, I said. To someone who won't use access as leverage, Marjorie said. I thought of Mrs. Pratt in slippers, guarding 3 sleeping children she owed nothing to. I know who. When I left HR, orientation had moved on to hospital ethics. I slipped into the back row as the compliance officer said, "Documentation protects patients, staff, and the institution." My phone buzzed again. This time, it was Derek. Police took statement. Kids safe with me. Affidavit was submitted yesterday. Attorney says do not speak to Kelsey. Then a second text. Your sister told mediator you volunteered because your hospital job wasn't starting until next week. I looked down at my badge. Natalie Mercer, RN resident. For the first time that morning, I didn't feel afraid of losing it. I felt furious enough to protect it. By noon, my family had moved from pressure to punishment. First came my father. "Call your mother," he texted. "This has gone too far." Then Aunt Valerie, who lived 2 states away and got all her news through my mother's tears. "I hope a job keeps you warm when your sister loses her babies." Then my cousin Joel. "Derek is trash and you helped him." I didn't answer any of them. At 12:17, Marjorie found me in the cafeteria line, holding a tray I hadn't put food on. "Ms. Mercer," she said quietly, Security has been notified that your mother is not permitted past public areas. My stomach flipped. She came here? Not yet. But she called the main desk and asked what floor orientation was on. Of course she had. I set the empty tray down. I'm sorry this is touching the hospital. It touched the hospital when she dragged us into it, Marjorie said. Eat something. That was the most maternal thing anyone had said to me all day. I bought soup I couldn't taste and sat alone near the windows. Rain streaked the glass. My reflection looked pale, older, with the kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from one bad morning, but from years of being assigned the role of reasonable one. My sister was the crisis. I was the cleanup. That had been the family structure since we were kids. Kelsey forgot homework. I walked it to school. Kelsey overdrew her account. I covered rent. Kelsey called sobbing at midnight. I drove over. And when I finally stopped being available on command, they didn't see a boundary. They saw betrayal. My phone rang from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, then remembered the police report. Is this Natalie Mercer? A woman asked. Yes. This is attorney Priya Shah. I represent Derek Brandt. He gave me your number and I apologize for contacting you at work. I sat straighter. Are the kids okay? They're safe with their father. A temporary emergency motion has been filed. The soup turned to stone in my stomach. Because of me? Because your sister submitted a sworn document with what appears to be a forged signature, then left 3 minors without confirmed adult supervision. You did the correct thing by documenting and calling non-emergency. I closed my eyes. Correct thing. I needed to hear that from someone paid to use precise language. Priya continued, You may receive requests from your sister or parents to clear up a misunderstanding. Do not sign anything. Do not send a statement to them. If you're willing, I'd like a factual affidavit from you. I'll give the truth, I said. That's all I'm asking. After we hung up, a text arrived from Kelsey. Please, I panicked. Mom said you'd never say no if the kids were already there. There it was. Not an apology, a strategy that had failed. Another message followed. I only signed because the mediator needed a name. You weren't supposed to make it a whole thing. I stared at the words until my vision narrowed. She admitted it. In writing. I screenshotted the messages, emailed them to myself, then forwarded them to Priya with no commentary. 10 minutes later, my mother called 13 times in a row. On the 14th, I blocked her. My hand shook after I did it, not because I regretted it, because somewhere deep in me, a child still expected consequences for disobeying Linda Mercer. At 3:30, orientation ended with badge access testing. We each tapped into a training unit and practiced logging into the medication system. A charge nurse named Sophia Alvarez walked beside me. You okay? She asked. I gave the automatic answer. Long day. She glanced at my phone, which lit up again with my father's name. Family long day? Or hospital long day? Despite everything, I smiled. Family. Ah, she said, the harder specialty. Before I could respond, a security officer appeared at the end of the hall. Ms. Mercer? Every muscle in my back tightened. Yes? There's a man in the lobby asking for you. Says he's your father. Sophia murmured. Want a witness? I looked at her, this stranger who owed me nothing, and offered exactly what I needed. Yes. We rode the elevator down with security. My father stood near the front desk in his work jacket, jaw clenched, phone in hand. When he saw Sophia and the guard, irritation flashed across his face. Natalie, this is ridiculous. No, I said. My voice surprised me. Clear, steady. Showing up at my workplace is ridiculous. We're your parents. You are not welcome here. His face reddened. Your mother is beside herself. Then she should stop calling my employer. He stepped closer. Security shifted. Dad lowered his voice. Kelsey could lose custody because you couldn't babysit for a few hours. Kelsey could lose custody because she forged my signature and lied in a legal proceeding. His eyes flicked to the guard. Good. Let him remember we were in public. He tried one more angle. Families protect each other. I looked at him and finally said the thing I had been swallowing for years. No. Families don't frame each other. His mouth opened, then closed. Sophia stood beside me, silent as a wall. Security escorted him out. When the sliding doors closed behind him, My knees nearly buckled. Sophia touched my elbow. "Still okay?" "No," I said, "but I'm standing. That counts." That evening, I drove home expecting chaos. Instead, my apartment was quiet. Mrs. Pratt had washed the coffee mugs, folded the blanket, and left a note beside my keys. Children were picked up by their father at 9:42 with Officer Mills present. I wrote what I saw. "Proud of you." Under the note was a plate covered in foil, chicken and rice. I sat on the kitchen floor and cried for 10 full minutes. Then I opened my email. At the top was a message from Calder Ridge HR. Subject: documentation of third-party contact. Attached was a formal memo stating my mother's allegations were unsubstantiated and contradicted by records I provided. Below that was an email from Priya. "Natalie, your sister's attorney is requesting a meeting tomorrow. They claim you misunderstood the childcare arrangement." I laughed once, without humor. Then my phone buzzed from a blocked number voicemail. I played it on speaker. Kelsey's voice came through, low and shaking. "If you loved those kids, you'd fix this before court." I saved the file, because now I understood. They weren't asking me to fix anything. They were asking me to become the lie. The next morning, I met attorney Priya Shah in a glass-walled conference room above a coffee shop downtown. I wore my only blazer. Priya wore calm like armor. Across the table sat Kelsey, her attorney, and my parents. The moment I walked in, my mother started crying. Not softly, not accidentally. A performance. "Natalie," she whispered, "please don't do this." Priya put one hand on the folder in front of me. "My client is here to provide factual clarification only," she said. "She will not be pressured." Kelsey looked awful. No makeup, swollen eyes, hair pulled into a bun so tight it made her face look younger and harder at the same time. For 1 second, I saw the sister who used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms. Then she opened her mouth. "I didn't abandon my kids." I sat down. Her attorney cleared his throat. "We believe this situation escalated due to miscommunication. Miss Mercer was aware her sister needed childcare." Priya slid a document across the table. "Awareness is not consent." It was the affidavit. My forged signature sat at the bottom like a dare. Kelsey wouldn't look at it. Priya continued, "Natalie, for the record, did you sign this?" "No." "Did you authorize anyone to sign it for you?" "No." "Did you agree verbally, by text, or in writing to watch the children on that date?" "No." My father leaned forward. "You knew your sister was desperate." Priya turned to him. "Mr. Mercer, if you interrupt my client again, this meeting ends." My mother wiped her eyes. "We only did what we thought was best for the children." I looked at her. "You called my hospital and told them I abandoned kids." Her face hardened beneath the tears. "I told them what I believed." "No," I said. "You told them what you needed them to believe." Silence. Kelsey's attorney shifted papers. "If Ms. Mercer is willing to provide a supplemental statement indicating she misunderstood the plan." "I didn't misunderstand anything," I said. Kelsey finally looked at me. "Nat, please." I hated that nickname in her mouth right then. "If you submit that I misunderstood," I said, "you are asking me to lie about a forged legal document." Her chin trembled. "Derek is going to take them. Derek picked them up when I called. You turned off your phone." "I was in mediation." "You left Ben in a diaper bag's worth of supplies and hoped I'd be too scared to go to work." Her face crumpled, but I didn't stop. "You didn't just use me, Kelsey. You used your kids as leverage." My mother gasped like I'd slapped her. Priya closed the folder. "This meeting is over." Kelsey's attorney protested, but Priya was already standing. In the hallway, my hands started shaking again. Priya waited until we reached the elevator. "You did well." "I don't feel well." "That's different." The elevator doors opened. Inside stood Daniel Cho from Calder Ridge HR, holding 2 coffees. For a wild second, I thought HR had followed me. He looked equally startled. "Natalie?" Priya glanced between us. Daniel lifted the cups. "My wife's law office is upstairs. I'm the coffee courier." "Wife. Good to know before my exhausted brain invented a subplot." He nodded toward Priya. "Rough meeting?" "Family law," Priya said. "Ah." Daniel replied. The ICU of paperwork. Despite myself, I laughed. Then he looked at me, more serious. Marjorie asked me to tell you. If we crossed paths, your file is clean. Security also received photos of both your parents. They won't get past reception. Something in my chest loosened. Thank you. No thanks needed. You belong at work without being hunted there. After he left, Priya gave me the tiniest smile. Good hospital. I think so, I said. By Friday, the story had split into two versions. In my family's version, I had chosen a career over children. In the documented version, Kelsey had forged my signature, misrepresented childcare to a mediator, left the children without consent, and my mother had attempted to sabotage my employment to force me into compliance. Only one version had timestamps. At Calder Ridge, I finished my first week. I learned where supplies were kept, how to scan into the medication room, which elevators ran slow, and which nurses would answer questions without making you feel stupid. Sofia Alvarez became my unofficial guide. On Friday afternoon, she tossed me a granola bar. You've got that haunted new grad look. I'm 33. Haunted new grad is spiritual, not chronological. I smiled for real. Then my phone buzzed. Priya, emergency hearing Monday. You may be called as witness. I read it twice. Sophia saw my face change. Bad? Necessary, I said. That was the word I had started using when something hurt, but still had to be done. On Monday morning, I sat outside courtroom 3B with Priya on one side and Derek on the other. He looked exhausted, not victorious, just scared. Thank you, he said quietly. I didn't do it for you. I know, he said. You did it for them. Across the hall, Kelsey sat between my parents. Milo leaned against Derek's mother, coloring in a dinosaur book. Audrey had two mismatched socks. Ben slept in a stroller with one fist around a cracker. When Audrey saw me, she waved. My throat closed. I waved back. My mother saw it and mouthed one word, traitor. For the first time, it didn't pierce me. It labeled her. The bailiff opened the courtroom door. Brant, custody matter. Priya stood. My knees felt weak, but I followed. Inside, the judge reviewed the affidavit, the police incident number, the text messages, and the voicemail to HR. Then he looked directly at Kelsey. Ms. Brant, did you sign your sister's name? Kelsey began to cry. This time, nobody moved to rescue her. Kelsey didn't answer immediately. She looked at my mother first. That was the saddest part. Even sitting in front of a judge, with her children's custody hanging in the air, my sister still checked which version of the truth she was allowed to tell. The judge repeated, Ms. Brant, did you sign your sister's name? Kelsey's attorney whispered something. Kelsey wiped her face with both hands. Yes, she said. My mother made a sound like grief. I felt nothing dramatic. No triumph, no rush of justice, just a quiet, terrible confirmation. The judge's expression did not change. And did Natalie Mercer consent to caring for the children that morning? Kelsey's voice broke. No. My father stared at the floor. The hearing lasted less than an hour. The judge granted Derek temporary primary physical custody, pending a full review. Kelsey received supervised visitation. She was ordered to complete a parenting assessment and submit all communications through a court-approved app. The forged affidavit was referred for further review. Then the judge addressed my parents. You are not parties to this case, he said, but I have reviewed the voicemail placed to Miss Mercer's employer. Interfering with a witness's employment may have consequences. Do not contact Ms. Mercer about her testimony. My mother's face went white. For once, someone else had said no to her with authority she couldn't guilt, shame, or out-talk. Outside the courtroom, Kelsey rushed toward me. Priya stepped between us. Natalie, Kelsey said, crying openly now. Please, I need my sister. I looked past Priya at her. You needed a scapegoat. That's not fair. No, I said. Leaving your kids on my couch and forging my signature wasn't fair. Her mouth trembled. I softened, despite myself. Because love doesn't disappear just because it becomes unsafe. I hope you get help, I said. I really do. But I'm done being the person you sacrifice first. My mother stepped forward. Natalie, you have destroyed this family. I turned to her. No, I stopped letting you use me to hold it together. Then I walked away. Not because I wasn't shaking, because I was. Not because I was brave, because sometimes bravery is just leaving before they find the old hooks. Calder Ridge kept me. More than that, they let me become myself there. I learned how to hang antibiotics without fumbling. I learned which alarms meant panic and which meant a patient had bent their arm. I learned how to speak to frightened families without promising what medicine couldn't guarantee. Some nights I drove home so tired I cried in the parking lot before going upstairs, but it was honest exhaustion. Mine. Not the kind handed to me by people who called obligation love. Mrs. Pratt became my emergency contact. When I asked her, she put one hand over her heart and said, "About time somebody reliable got the job." Derek sent occasional updates through Priya at first, then directly once the legal dust settled. The kids were in therapy. Kelsey was attending supervised visits. She pled to a lesser charge related to the affidavit and entered a diversion program. My parents sent letters. I returned the first two unopened. The third one came on my birthday. I held it over the trash for almost a full minute before setting it in a drawer. Not forgiveness, not yet. Just proof I didn't have to decide while bleeding. 6 months later, I came off orientation and took my first independent ICU assignment. At 5:12 that morning, my phone lit up. For one sharp second, my body remembered my mother's text. "Your career can wait." But it wasn't her, it was Sophia. First solo day. "Breathe, you earned the badge." I sat on the edge of my bed in clean navy scrubs, the room still dark, my shoes lined up by the door, exactly like they had been that first morning. Only this time, my apartment was quiet. No children left like evidence, no forged papers, no family emergency disguised as duty. Just me, my keys, my badge, and a future nobody else got to spend for me. When I reached the hospital, sunrise was breaking over the glass entrance. My reflection appeared in the doors as they slid open. Tired, scared, standing anyway, I clipped my badge to my chest and walked in. And if anyone ever tells me again that my career can wait because their crisis can't, I'll remember that morning, that voicemail, and the life I almost lost before it began, and I'll choose the truth first. If this story stayed with you, tell me in the comments what you would have done in my place. And if you want more stories like this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel.